In comparison to traditional co-located teams, virtual teams present some unique challenges for leaders. The lack of face-to-face contact or personal contact makes it difficult to measure performance of team members, to influence team members, and to develop mutual trust and collective identification. In short, leadership definitions have taken a complete new shape in today's business scenario. I am Dr. Abhinanda Gautam, a senior academic in the field of human resource management with an experience of over 19 years. And I want to share a video series with you that would unfold the concept of leadership from beginning to end. Leadership has been an interesting and exciting topic for many over the years. Leadership also generates knowledge, information, and a lot of different schools of thought when we discuss styles of leadership, theories of leadership, models of leadership, or types of leadership. Leadership theories keep on changing almost every day, and that is why this topic, leadership, has enticed me and encouraged me to start my channel, which is based on different subjects of human resource management. Here we start today with the first session, the nature of leadership. In this video, you are going to cover topics like different ways of leadership and difference between a leader and a manager. You understand the viewpoints on leadership, understand the characteristics of a leader, follower, and the situation. The term leadership generally gives an impression of skyscrapers, powerful people, dynamism, flowcharts, budgets, strategic planning, strategic initiatives. And such are the terms that gives various other definitions of today's business world. So what is leadership? Leadership is the ability of an individual to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute towards the effectiveness and success of the organization. Generally, there are a lot of definitions of leadership. This is by House et al. What I believe is leadership converts an individual from an employed employee or an entrepreneur to an employable employee or a super entrepreneur. So we are talking of business leadership. Leadership can be defined in other ways as well, right, from social leadership, business leadership, political leadership. However, in this video, we are going to talk more about the aspects of leadership in organizations and leadership in business. It is also said, according to John C. Maxwell, that leadership is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It is about one life influencing another. And that is why a lot of people have different schools of thought. They believe that leadership cannot be practiced without hierarchy, without organization structure, without you being in the top of the ladder of organizational hierarchy. And my question to all of you is, do you believe that leadership is only practicable or implementable when you are high up in the ladder in your business organization, or you are an entrepreneur, or you are a C-suite employee? What is your thought about it? However, other people like Peter F. Drucker, like Richard Branson, have always said that leadership is to empower employees. Employees come first and customers come second. Why? Because if people are addicted towards the brand that they work for, the service would be delivered through them. So leadership is to influence your followers, and it is also said that leadership is less about having followers. It is more about having constructive followers. So are you creating constructive followers? Are you giving proper direction? Are you encouraging your employees? Are you motivating your employees? And are you being an inspiration to all of them, or to the people that you work for, that you work with? So leadership is not about titles. I again say it's not about positions or flowcharts. It is about one life influencing another. In case we put some viewpoints on leadership, it is also said that leaders should have some specialized role. People that are expert in their fields, somewhere or the other, influence others through their expert power. It is a type of influence process as well. However, definitely the process has to be positive, has to be bringing some changes, some positive changes in the society and community. And it is also important that leaders must have some purpose, some higher purpose of influence attempts. And they also create influence based on reason or emotions. And that is why it is said that today's leaders are not only rationally intelligent, they are emotionally intelligent as well. We are going to cover emotional intelligence in some other video of mine. But it is said they know not only to manage their emotions, they also know how to manage other emotions and put those emotions in a productive way. There are different types of leadership, direct and indirect leadership. As I say, that people that are having organizational power or legitimate power or formal power, that have been given authority and designation to practice leadership, are definitely practicing direct leadership. But there are many that are not sitting at C-suite level, but still having their influence on other people, have constructive followers with what they say. Because of what? Because of different kind of power that they possess. And this power could be expert power, could be charismatic power, could be personal power, could be convincing power, could be referral power, could be their own personality characteristics and traits because of which people do believe them, and that is why they have great ability to convince and take people towards greater organizational goals or greater purpose of the organization. And the last but not the least, the most debatable topic, and the topic I believe never ends, that whether leadership is more influential or management. What is the difference between a leader and a manager? And there are different viewpoints again, and the debate might not end in today's 10 or 15 minute session. However, in my personal opinion, after reading a lot of other viewpoints from different scientists, behavioral scientists, I believe that these are some of the major differences between a leader and a manager, or in the art of leading or managing. Now, I also believe that there are certain aspects that has to be, whether we agree or not, we believe it or not, has to be different, has to be similar, whether you are a manager or a leader. And these are some of the common topics, because this is interrelated. The aim of the role of a manager or a leader is organizational success and its individual development. And many a times I've seen that there are negative aspects of bosses and managers in a lot of different websites or other sources, wherein managers are always hard and harsh, and that is always not the case, because great managers turn into leaders of superlative degree. So I would start with the comparisons, and the comparisons are not to demean the other counterpart, like not to demean managers. It's just that the area of expertise is a little different. The style of management is a little different. So leaders, they always keep on talking about vision and strategy, and managers mostly are responsible for executing policies and procedures. And as we know that it's all about value, if it's vision, voice, and value. Most of the leaders say that vision, voice, and value have to be given a lot of importance, and that is why leaders create value. They know how to create value through brand awareness, brand equity, goodwill, different strategic alliances, right? And managers have to count value. It is their job, and that is why influence and inspiration, not only employees but other stakeholders in the business, is a leader's not only their choice, it's their role and responsibility. Whereas managers sometimes have to use power and control, and that is why I also say that we mustn't always take control from a negative point of view. It's not always do what I say. Control is monitoring and evaluating and measuring the difference between what was desired and what was actually achieved, and that is a job of a manager, because he's ought to control, he or she And that is why power and control is one of the aspects that a manager is supposed to perform. Leader leads people, creates constructive followers. Manager has to manage work, and leader creates great team spirit. And in today's virtual world, wherein people are working in their silos, sometimes not even having connection with other person in person, but and that is what a leader's job is, to keep everyone intact, cohesive, and create that dynamic team spirit and that group dynamism. And today's leaders have to go ahead with remote teamwork spirit, how to create that, and that is why they lead people. Managers manage work, and managers, as we know, are work focused. People are and leaders are people focused. People have to be developed because they are going to be the future managers. Like we keep on talking, the transition from millennials to Gen Next. Now Gen Next would be the greater set of employees that are about to be in the market. So how do we develop them it would be a leader's job. So it's said that leaders are proactive because they are foresighting everything. Managers are, because they are so busy, because they are spend their time, official time, in getting the things done. That is why sometimes they turn reactive. However, that is always not the case, but definitely they have to implement. They are the one that executes tasks, and that is why they turn reactive. And I always say there's nothing wrong to be a great manager. There are various people that are sitting at top level management. They are great not only great leaders, they are great managers, and there are people that are executing things in the finest way possible. And that is why decide what you want to be. And a lot of leaders say that leaders are not leaders if they are not backed up by great team of managers. So everyone cannot be a leader, and that is why it is said that it's important that we decide in what we can do the best, where we are good at, and not be always in the rush of turning into a leader. Raise expectations. Leaders raise expectations not only in terms of salary but performance, but development. Coach yourself, sometimes upskill yourself, and that is why it's important to raise expectations. In case you are aspiring to turn into a leader, you create a benchmark, you create standards, right? You set standards, and that is why people follow you, sometimes blindly as well. Now, leaders ask questions, and I would also say that a lot of leaders allow others to ask questions. I am sitting in Johannesburg, South Africa. There is one company, Discovery. It is one of the biggest companies, having the largest market share in the insurance industry, and their philosophy, their managing director's philosophy is to let people ask questions, and that is why Discovery has grown to the largest heights and still growing, because they believe the organization is going to perish in case the organization is doing their task only according to their own thought process and strategic actions and initiatives. They ask people before they implement, and sometimes they are fancy, innovative, out of the box, sometimes no box thought process comes up, and they do agree and implement those aspects. So yeah, a lot of companies do that. We know the big brands, and I'm not going to repeat like Google and Apple, but there are other companies, like I said, Discovery. Now, in terms of something that both leaders and managers perform, and we cannot segregate these roles just by saying that leaders don't do or managers do, right? So these are accomplishing a goal, and it is for both, right? And they perform great jobs, I would say, by accomplishing their goals according to their own job parameters. They explain vision, whether it's a leader or a manager, right? Managers are told by the leaders about the vision, and who explains it to employees? It's the managers, and that is why kudos to to all the great managers that are doing a remarkable job in various organizations. Then organization figureheads, they are the one that are spokesperson. They are the one that that act as a figurehead. They are the one that are looked up to in terms of getting the things done. Then motivate others and mobilize resources are some of the major aspects that are common roles of a leader and a manager. It is also important that we talk about the three kind of people, I would say, or three kind of bodies that makes a leader a leader. A leader is not a leader without followers and the type of situation that they are in. And that is why sometimes we only talk about leadership. We only talk about characteristics of a leader. But great leaders would not have been known as great leaders if we would not have they would not have been backed by great followers as well. So that is why it's important to understand what are the characteristics of the leader, and also we mustn't miss the concept of what are the characteristics of great followers and what situations created the kind of leaders that we have. Sometimes we talk of Mahatma Gandhi as the father of the nation, Nelson Mandela as the leader, visionary leader that we can always imagine. But would Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi would be the type of leaders without the blind followers that they had? And definitely it's their characteristics, but without the situation that they have been thrown into. They were into the deep end, because of which they emerged as great leaders. So what are those situations? Why we don't consider Adolf Hitler or Winston Churchill or Indira Gandhi as the kind of leaders that you would aspire to, because of the kind of situations that either they have created or what they have done in those situations. So and they have accomplishments, they have crowning glories, but why they are not considered as the leaders that you would like to follow? Because the situations also matter a lot. And that is why I always say that when we talk about leadership, can we take into consideration not only the characteristics of the leaders, but also the characteristics of the followers and the characteristics of the situations? I think you guys must be very aware. So I'm not going to talk in detail about each characteristic, but definitely these are the characteristics that we must measure or evaluate or think, or maybe before framing or constructing an opinion, should we take these aspects into our consideration when we talk about leadership? Like traits, motives, and personality, like trait theory of leadership, and it has been debatable forever and ever. And I think it would be in next 50 to 100 years in future that does personality play a major role in terms of creating leaders? Does that person have to have a kind of charisma, a kind of physical attributes, voice quality, and others? Though a lot of people would negate that, but there are research, I would say, topics on traits of leadership, but definitely it's not to debate about who should look like what or who should sound like what. The aspect is that we should also consider traits as one of the characteristics of leaders. Values, integrity, and moral development, confidence and optimism, like the latest example, it's not even latest, I would say, it's 2-3 years, that what kind of confidence and optimism was reflected by Mark Zuckerberg when he was in court for long, and when Facebook was in trouble. The kind of composure, the kind of great dynamism that he had shown, the emotional intelligence that was reflected, is a kind of study that we can go ahead and see that when in trouble, what kind of confidence, optimism, leadership behavior is reflected by great leaders. Okay, so I'm going ahead in terms of skills and expertise. That's a topic that we are talking right from 4IR to almost we are moving to 5IR, and the topics are endless. The list is long. So leadership behavior, attributions about followers, and the mental models in terms of beliefs and assumptions. that are created. I'm sure that all of you are aware of Indra Nooyi, the kind of, in case you have watched her interviews, the kind of beliefs and assumptions that she must have had right in her life. Not that her life was a bed of roses, but how the kind of composure, the kind of mental strictness, the kind of model that she has created around her life to carry on with ups and downs. So I'm sure that you would agree that it's important that we analyze the characteristics of the leaders. Now, this is more important to me, guys. Characteristics of the followers. Can you see in here? Sometimes I have been reading quite a lot about humble leadership. When your followers are great experts, when your followers are having a mastery, or they are messiah in their own fields, then you need to deal with them, because leading is dealing many a times, or lead them, or interact with them, or motivate them, encourage them, not in a directive way, right? Always. So it could be participative way, it could be telling style or selling style, depending on the type of followers that you have. And your style must keep on changing depending on the skills, expertise, attributes, identification, right, task commitment of your followers. Sometimes the followers have attributions of a leader, but they don't want to, because they are good enough in their individual aspects. And that is why sometimes cooperation and mutual trust in between the team members are important. I would encourage you to go and watch Steve Jobs video YouTube. I would share the link with you as well, and just see that what he shares in terms of practicing his style of leadership. He says, because people are so supremely talented, what he had to do, I beg your pardon, he had to do is to meet with team members every week, and it's discussions, not like do what I say. And sometimes do what I say is important depending on the skills, depending on the confidence level, depending on the characteristics of the followers. So you can always have a look that these are the characteristics of the followers as well. Now, we have discussed so far who determines leadership characteristics, or who helps to the leaders to emerge as leaders. Now, it is also important when we talk about leadership characteristics or leadership styles, that what are the situations that help leaders to come up or turn up as leaders, great leaders. Now, this is also important to know that what is the type of organizational unit that they are working, what is the size, is it massive, is it humongous, and the kind of power that they are in. Are they somewhere in the middle management, or they are already at a leadership position? That is why it's easier. I wouldn't say it's easier. That's why the authority or the designation or the power, organizational power, supports them to turn into great leaders. The organization culture sometimes is leadership by walking around. Sometimes it's leadership practiced by speaking to people. Sometimes it's a new term that people use nowadays. Sometimes leader turns into leaders in war rooms. War rooms, yes, you heard it right. So war rooms means people keep on standing in there. They are free and open to express their opinions, frame their decisions just by standing and having that agile approach in the meeting. So why standing? Because it is said that when you are standing, that kind of agility, alertness, activeness is there in your body language, and that is why you are swifter, right? Your responses are more informed, and war rooms sometimes help people to grow and emerge as great leaders. So yeah, there are such terms that are happening in various companies, and the situations, right, allow people to turn into great leaders. External dependencies and constraints. It is said that and especially in the module of design thinking, it is said that when you design something new or you innovate something new, and if there are no constraints. What do you mean by constraints? Constraints means if I ask you to design a new product, right, and come up with an innovation, But if I say just you have innumerable amount of time, you have uncountable budget, you don't have to worry at all about manpower, then the kind of innovation that would come up might be right. Might be. I'm not contesting to the fact that in case you don't have any constraints, you don't come up with remarkable ideas, but you come swiftly, right, faster when you are given with constraints that you have to do this. This is the budget, this is the timeline, right? This is the manpower that you are going to get. This is the project that has to be executed, launched on this particular day, and then within the definition or the limits of the constraints that are being given to you, great managers turn into great leaders because with those limitations or constraints they come up with bright and stupendous ideas. So yeah, sometimes environmental uncertainty, sometimes national cultural values, right, are one of the major determining and decisive factors in helping people, sometimes the simplest people, to turn into greatest leaders. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and, in case we talk about what makes great leaders, right? So I would also say that these are situational variables, right? These are major situational variables which create casual relationships among the primary types of leadership variables. And that is why all those situations, right, and all those leadership variables of followers, leaders, the process, the situation helps organizations to create great leaders. So what are those? And that is what I discussed. That is leadership skills and traits. We cannot defy or deny the fact that leaders have their own great characteristics, right? And they have their own uniqueness. They have their own unique characteristics and skills, because of which we know them as great leaders. Behavior of leaders determines quite a lot of leadership abilities in the leaders. The types of influence process, right? The influence process is two ways. That is what I said, that you influence people through your leadership behavior, right? And your leadership behavior influences the process. And that is also, followers are extremely important. If you don't have great, constructive, talented, versatile and dynamic followers, then to emerge as great leaders is not as easy. Facebook is not Facebook because only of Mark Zuckerberg, but because of supremely talented people that are sitting in there. Google is not Google, but outstandingly great talent is filled with, in there, and because of which Google is one of the best companies in the world. So followers, attributes and behaviors also play a great impact on leaders to grow as leaders. And obviously we all know that performance outcomes are the determining or the final measuring factor, because of which we know some of the companies as leaders in the market, and we know some of the leaders as great leaders in the world. Okay, and now I would talk a little bit about the styles of leadership. This is the very basic aspect of leadership before we move towards the other aspects of leadership in my next video. But we need to have a fair understanding of what are the most basic styles of leadership that generally leaders practice. So these are 4 types, right? And as I said, there are many. We are going to talk in future. We are going to have a further discussion. We are going to throw light on various other types, styles and behavior of leadership. But definitely these are the major, right, stepping stones through which leadership was into practice. And we somewhere or the other also use these 4 types of or styles of leadership depending on the situation that we are in. So I would say that in case you can imagine, right, just imagine x-axis and y-axis, and in x-axis you can think of task behavior, right, and our task orientation, and on the y-axis you can think of relationship orientation, right? So leaders have to keep those things always in mind. So one, task orientation, they have to get the task done, the deadlines have to be met, the targets have to be achieved, right? And on the other hand, people have to be happy, right? People are to be engaged, people to be rewarded, motivated. People have to be listened. They need scope to participate as well. So to striking a balance is all about leadership in total. So telling style, and it is also said, is to create movement, and it is more towards task orientation, that you get the task done. You say this is what you do, right? This is how you do. And generally it is said that this is mostly used when your followers are not as skilled, are not as confident, right? And you, being a very confident and an expert in your field, help them, tell them what to do, right? So it is one style of management, again depending on the situation that you are in. And then selling is to create buy-in and understanding. And what do we mean by that? It's both high parameters. Selling is what your followers are great, your followers are active, your followers they already know what to do. It's just that a little bit of guidance, a little bit of discussion, right? Informative and informed decisions to be taken. So at that time, you are or the leader has high task orientation as well as high people orientation. So the task gets done, the people are happy, that kind of situation wherein you as a leader sell your ideas to the followers. You just don't tell them what to do. It's the part is why to do it, how to do it, and how we can perform better, right? So because the type of followers, and that is why I say leadership practices depend quite a lot on characteristics of followers as well. Now, participating is another style wherein the orientation is too high on people to create alignment. It's because the people are strong, because the people believe in making their own decisions, and not that participative leader lose all hold on followers, but they rely quite a lot on relationship, because the relationship with group, the relationship with the people takes priority. And the last one is delegating. It's to create enhanced task mastery and autonomy. And the thing is, directive style is, I would say, it's both low, right? It's low task orientation, low people orientation, and it depends, right? As it is said, that it depends that what is the situation in order to enhance task mastery. But if you see, as you can see in here, that which leadership style is best, it all depends on your status. As you can see, least effective in here and high effective in here. So people that are high status leaders, right, that they have already spent their life in powerful positions, they are already at decisive positions, right? They have power to decide. So powerful leaders can afford to cede authority to subordinates, because they don't have to be insecure, right? And they give their power empowerment scope, right, and some sort of emancipation to the leaders, right, to the followers, I beg your pardon, to perform, right? And participative style helps in there because they are high status leaders. On the other hand, if we see that low status leaders, low status, relatively new, still learning, still somewhere in the middle, right, in the journey of gaining leadership style, they are newer managers, need to increase their standing by appearing decisive, and that is why, and this style, maybe a little bit of directive style would do, because they are still new, right? And I would say that it is also important to understand that low status leaders can also put in telling style and combine it with selling style as well, because in case the new leader or the new leaders are blessed with great followers, talented followers, skilled followers, competent followers, then definitely a combination of telling and selling also helps. So yes, guys, as I said, that leadership is an unending topic, and there are different point of views. After this video also you must have felt, but why not this, Dr. Abby? But yeah, I feel participative is more important even for low status leaders, and there could be different schools of thought. I appreciate all schools of thought to be true, but what I presented is all research orientated, published at different platforms, and And I believe that our further interaction and discussion with each other would help us to know more and unleash the power and knowledge on leadership, and we will reveal quite a lot of other facts about leadership, and it would be an interesting journey. It was very pleasing to have this video with you, and I'm hoping to see you guys again in the next one. Thank you. Thanks a lot, and enjoy your day. Whatever you are doing, you should keep on doing in your best possible way. Bye-bye.